I just finished setting the studio up for a 4-dog and 1-person photo shoot. What I'd like to show you today is ways that you can pose 4 dogs in a studio. All right, they're almost here. I get to meet 4 puppies today. I have my big black backdrop, and I hope to do some photos on a blue or a bright colored backdrop as well, but we want to make sure we get all 4 dogs and their person in these photos. And these are very unique dogs. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Netherlands Kooikerhondje dog. The translation is the little white and orange dog with a big heart. They're Dutch dogs. Anyway, so they're little brown and white dogs, and I didn't want to put them on a brown backdrop. You can see I've got a stool, I have a chair, and I have a bench. Otherwise, it's just a blank studio. I do a lot of photos on location where there's rocks and logs and hillsides. So what do you do with 4 dogs in the studio? So this particular breed is kind of mid-size. She said they're about average of 30 pounds, so a little bit, she said they're often mistaken for a larger Cavalier. And so this should be plenty of room. I want to show off their coloring. That's why I'm using the black backdrop, and I plan on using this bench as well. But I want to show you some ways that you can pose. Now, if you saw this video about my 5 go-to shots, I'm going to try to get as many of those as I can. The tight, middle, wide, epic, and creative. Epic might be difficult in this space. I have some ideas for the individual dogs though. Beyond that, how do you group them? There's 2 adults and 2 puppies. There's an 11-month-old and a 4-month-old puppy. So the 2 adults are very, very, very well trained. They're show dogs. The puppies, not sure. All right, they're almost here. I get to meet 4 puppies today. Okay, I had to really concentrate on that session, and so I didn't want to get the camera out, the GoPro. It is warm in here. I get warm at photo sessions. I don't know about you. Anyway, I think it was super fun. The dogs were all very friendly. I am kind of rambly right now because I'm really hot and exhausted, and I have another photo shoot to be at in 2 hours, and I have this big setup to do. So I'm gonna get some water, and I'll give you my closing thoughts in a second. Okay. When you're photographing multiple dogs, here's some things that could help. Now, these are ideals, of course, and may not always be possible. Number 1 is get at least 1 helper. So if there's more than 2 dogs, I try to make sure there's an extra helper. They also brought a crate that was big enough for 2 dogs. And so these are show dogs. They just have their regular crate, and they could put 2 dogs at a time into the crate. If you're in a studio, see how big a backdrop you can make. I did mostly the big black backdrop. That one was most of the images. And then we moved to just this piece of blue. And in the end, we had some pictures on here. And so I just taped up a little bit more. I'm gonna have some Photoshop work to do, but do what it takes to make as big a backdrop as you possibly can. With multiple dogs, it's great to have several different pieces of furniture that they can sit on. I have this bench, I have a chair, I have a stool. Have as many of these things as you can, because some dogs, if you put them up on a stool or a bench, as long as that's safe for them, then they'll just stay there. So it makes it a little bit easier to keep them in place. And then it gives different heights and different interest. Now, a lot of times with these ones, we also had their leash on. And so that's totally fine. There was only the 2 people plus me. So if we had 4 people to hold on to leashes, that could have worked, but then you end up like having to reach over. So it can be difficult, but keeping leashes on is totally fine. But here's what you need to do is really watch where that leash is. These were small dogs, and so the long leash would sometimes go around their leg. And so having people hold on to it, but tuck the leash behind them all the time. Also, with a large number of animals, make sure you get all of the breakdowns, which is make sure you get individuals of each dog and then the entire group. But there's so much in betweens with that. So when you're doing the individual dog, remember you're going to try to get that tight middle wide like we talked about in this video. And then if you can do epic or creative, in this kind of space, epic wasn't really going to work. And then you of course have the entire group. So for these, there was 4 dogs. And then see if you can get sitting and laying and a couple of different looks there. And then if there's pairs of them, like siblings or like the 2 oldest dogs, things like that. She has her 2 older dogs and she wanted to pose with them. And then her 2 younger dogs, we put them together. So think of the different combinations of all the dogs too. And then of course do all 4 dogs with their person. She wanted to be in the photos, which is fantastic. I love that. Talk to them ahead of time about that too and help them through any clothing choices. And I can do a different video on that. Make sure that you get any images that they want with their dogs or their. So there was some that she wanted just with one particular dog. So we were able to do that. The group shots with everyone, the group with a special collar, or we did scarves, or the prop, the Holland shoes, clogs, and the skates, her kind of silver skates. And then sometimes you'll just need to roll with it. So you might have a pose in mind for all 4, but if that's not gonna work, then have a couple alternatives that could still work.
As I sat down to edit this video, I realized that the camera had stopped recording at the very end, so I have a couple more points for you. Number 1, pretty important, is to find out ahead of time which dogs like to sit next to each other. Sometimes dogs do better next to this dog than they would next to this dog. So we had a lot of that going on. Whenever I would arrange the dogs, I would say, okay, can this dog be next to this dog? That kind of thing. And that'll help the dogs and the people be less stressed. They brought their own treats, high value treats that each dog could have. So I would definitely recommend that, especially with 4 different dogs. They might have all different dietary needs. So see if the people can bring their own treats. Along those lines is try not to get the treats out right away. You're gonna get that treat face, which we didn't. We were able to do most of the session without treats, which was awesome. And of course, as much as you can, try to memorize all the dogs' names and keep a running list of who you photographed. You could even actually write it down if you need to make sure that you have individuals of every dog in every situation and paired up with everybody that they need to be. So be sure to keep track of all the dogs' names. Couple more notes is with this many animals in the studio, and actually anytime I have someone in the studio, is I tape down all of the backgrounds, whether it's cloth or paper. I use my gaff tape and tape that all securely to the floor. The lights have weights on them. The background stand, if need be, can also have weights on. So keep safety in mind with that many dogs around as well. These are really, really difficult images for clients to take on their own. And so they really appreciate when they can get any image of all their dogs together and all their dogs with them. So I hope all the tips today can help you on your next multi-animal shoot. If so, let me know in the comments, or if you have extra tips, we would love to hear them. Thanks for watching today. Be sure to paw that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of the awesome goodness here on the Silverpaw Studio YouTube channel. And as always, I wish you many whoops, purrs, and TREATS's.